SHRM-CP, PHR, SPHR, SHRM-SCP. Practice questions. Part 8. Let us begin with a few questions. 1. In the United States, states may set minimum wage amounts that are lower, or the same, but not higher, than the federal minimum rate. True or false? The answer is false. States may set minimum wage amounts that are higher, or lower, than the federal minimum wage rate, but employers must pay the minimum wage that is most favorable to the employee. 2. Breaks or meal periods are not required to be given to workers under the Fair Labor Standards Act, FLSA, but may be required by state or local laws. True or false? The answer is true. The FLSA does not require lunch or coffee breaks. However, when employers do offer short breaks, usually lasting about 5 to 20 minutes, federal law considers the breaks as compensable work hours, and are considered in determining overtime. 3. The Fair Labor Standards Act requires employers to provide a functional space for nursing mothers to express breast milk, which can include a private bathroom. True or false? The answer is false. Employers are required to provide reasonable break time for an employee to express breast milk for her nursing child, for 1 year after the child's birth, each time such employee has need to express the milk. Employers are also required to provide a place, other than a bathroom, that is shielded from view, and free from intrusion from co-workers and the public, which may be used by an employee to express breast milk. Note that a bathroom, even if private, is not a permissible location under the Act. 4. General exceptions regarding pay for workers, under the Fair Labor Standards Act, are usually referred to as the blue-collar exemptions to overtime. True or false? The answer is false. The FLSA exemptions do not apply to blue-collar workers, such as carpenters, electricians, mechanics, etc. They are entitled to minimum wage and overtime premium pay under the FLSA, and are not exempt. 5. The Fair Labor Standards Act sets 16 years of age as the minimum age for employment. True or false? The answer is false. As a general rule, the FLSA sets 14 years old as the minimum age for employment, and limits the number of hours worked by minors under the age of 16. Note that the rules vary, depending upon the particular age of the minor, and the particular job involved. 6. Part-time workers have the right to receive a notification of a mass layoff, under the Worker Adjustment and Retraining Notification Act. True or false? The answer is true. Part-time employees are entitled to receive WARN notice. Note that temporary employees are not entitled to WARN notice. 7. Under the Family and Medical Leave Act, an employee's healthy child, who is over 18 years old, does not qualify as an immediate family member. True or false? The answer is true. In order for a parent, who is an eligible employee, to take FMLA leave, to care for a son or daughter 18 years of age or older, the adult child must be incapable of self-care, due to a mental or physical disability. 8. The right to a covered leave of absence, under the Family and Medical Leave Act, applies to employees the moment they begin employment. True or false? The answer is false. Employees are eligible for leave if they have worked for their employer for at least 12 months, at least 1,250 hours over the past 12 months, and work at a location where the company employs 50 or more employees within 75 miles. 9. An employer's publication of an employee handbook can change the nature of at-will employment. True or false? The answer is true. Unless the text of an employee handbook clearly indicates otherwise, an employee handbook can be considered a legally binding document between an employer and its employees.
Become a Human Resource Prep member. Membership perks: unlimited PHR, SPHR, SHRM-CP, SHRM-SCP questions, answers, and explanations. In-depth explanations of key terms and concepts for the SHRM-CP, SHRM-SCP, PHR, SPHR exams. Instructional videos on exam resources for the SHRM-CP, SHRM-SCP, PHR, SPHR exams.
Guthrie has applied for a job at Cross Stores. She is told that after 30 days, she is required to join the union representing the employees of Cross Stores. In this case, the Cross Stores is a dash. A. Closed shop. B. Agency shop. C. Maintenance of membership shop. D. Union shop. The answer is D. A union shop is a union security clause in a place of work, where employers may hire non-union workers, who must join a labor union, within an agreed time, usually 30 days. A place of employment, that requires a person to be a union member, before applying for a job, is said to be a dash. A. Open shop. B. Agency shop. C. Mandatory membership shop. D. Closed shop. The answer is D. A closed shop is a place of work, where membership in a union is a condition before the employee is hired, and for continued employment. Coaching and development, problem solving, and creative activities, are examples of which motivational needs, as described by Abraham Maslow? A. Esteem. B. Physiological. C. Self-actualization. D. Security. The answer is C. Self-actualization are the highest level in Maslow's hierarchy, and refer to the realization of a person's potential, self-fulfillment, seeking personal growth, and peak experiences. Maslow describes this level as the desire to accomplish everything that one can, to become the most that one can be. This includes problem solving, creativity, and development. As a trainer for your company, you are preparing to deliver a new course. Your supervisor has asked you to define the learning needs for the course. Which of the following statements best describes the learning needs? A. It is what the learners need to know to complete their tasks within the organization. B. It is what the Addie model provides, as consecutive steps towards training effectiveness. C. It is what the learners need to know, so they can prepare for the course, as determined by the formative evaluation. D. It is the needs assessment of what will, and won't be included in the training design. The answer is A. Learning needs is the gap between the learner's current level of knowledge and skills, and the level of knowledge and skills required to perform a task, or a set of tasks. A management consulting firm will expand into the East Asia region, and has purchased a sizable group of offices. The firm's policies, procedures, and practices will extend to the new offices. The firm will become a parent firm of the East Asia offices, and will provide tools, resources, investment, and personnel, who will become associates. What type of growth strategy has the management consulting firm adopted? A. Strategic Management Alliance. B. Equity Partnership. C. Joint Venture. D. Turnkey Operation. The answer is D. A turnkey operation is an agreement by a seller, to supply a buyer with a facility fully equipped, and ready to be operated, by the buyer's personnel, who will be trained by the seller. One of the special models of carrying out international business, is a turnkey project. The Cleanse firm grants the Basque LLC, the use of its trademark, and provides operational assistance on a continuing basis, to the Basque LLC. This arrangement is known as A. Fair Use Convention. B. Joint Venture. C. Trademark Management Contract. D. Franchising. The answer is D. Franchising is a form of marketing and distribution, in which the owner of a business system, the franchisor, grants to an individual or group of individuals, the franchisee, the right to run a business selling a product, or providing a service using the franchisor's business system, such as its know-how, procedures, intellectual property, use of its business model, brand, and rights to sell its branded products and services. For example, McDonald's operates a franchise business model.
Become a Human Resource Prep member. Membership perks. Unlimited PHR, SPHR, SHRM-CP, SHRM-SCP questions, answers, and explanations. In-depth explanations of key terms and concepts for the SHRM-CP, SHRM-SCP, PHR, SPHR exams. Instructional videos on exam resources for the SHRM-CP, SHRM-SCP, PHR, SPHR exams.
The term dash refers to the ability of an innovator to appropriate some of the gains that result from his or her innovation. A. Sustainable advantage. B. Competitive advantage. C. Appropriability. D. Definability. The answer is C. Appropriability is the capacity of an individual or a firm to retain the added value it creates for its own benefit. What term describes the high-level objectives for a training course? A. Storyboard units. B. Course description. C. Course objectives. D. Instructional goal. The answer is D. An instructional goal is a clear overall statement of observable behaviors that learners are to demonstrate as a result of the instruction. Instructional objectives are specific, measurable, short-term, observable learner behaviors. Think of objectives as tools used to attain the instructional goal. The Task Corporation has expanded into a region, where it has chosen to create its own subsidiary, by building a new factory and offices from scratch. Which of the following factors possibly informed the Task Corporation's decision to engage in a greenfield operation, by starting a new operation from ground up, rather than acquiring an existing one in the region? A. Labor relations at existing firms are poor, and are likely to be difficult to change. B. The local government places restrictions on the transfer of foreign capital. C. Existing companies have goodwill and brand recognition in their market. D. The country's currency is fragile, and stock market prices are depressed. The answer is A. Poor labor relations at existing firms is a good reason not to acquire the existing firms, but to start up facilities from scratch. A painstaking HR initiative is completed and delivered to the Operations Department, which is the internal customer the initiative was prepared for. The manager of the Operations Department rejects the initiative, stating it does not meet the department's needs. How could this have been prevented? A. The HR team should have benchmarked best practices of such initiatives, and documented information exchanges. B. The internal customer should have been involved in determining the initiative's purpose and scope. C. Senior management and strategic buy-in should have been obtained and included in the progressive steps of the initiative. D. The customer should have been involved in the organizing and delegating functions of project management. The answer is B. The Operations Department, as the internal customer for whom the initiative was created for, should have been involved in the determining the project's purpose and scope. Which phase of the Addie model is concerned with the direction and content of the supervisory training? A. Analysis. B. Design. C. Development. D. Implementation. The answer is B. The design phase of the Addie model involves determining the direction and content of a training. The design phase of the Addie model addresses any performance gaps identified in the analysis phase, the training outline is completed, and management approval is secured. Which one of the following answers best describes what happens in the analysis phase of the Addie model? A. The instructor analyzes the information that will be taught to the learners. B. The participants reflect on what information, skills, and behaviors they need to complete their roles in the organization. C. The organization completes task analysis to determine what information, skills, and behaviors employees need to complete their roles in the organization. D. The instructor analyzes the learners to determine their prerequisites and qualifications for the course instruction. The answer is C. In the analysis phase, instructional problem is clarified, the instructional goals and objectives are established, and the learning environment and learners' existing knowledge and skills are identified.
Have you subscribed to this channel? Please do. Would you like to see more videos like this for free? Then please subscribe and click on the like button.
The implementation phase of the Addie model describes the effective management of learning logistics. All of the following are examples of learning logistics, except for which one? A. Selection of the material to use in the training. B. Participant enrollment and tracking. C. Classroom reservation, temperature, and configuration. D. Adequate classroom materials. The answer is A. Selection of the material to use in the training is done in the development phase, prior to the implementation phase of the Addie model. At the implementation phase, the training plan meets the learner, and the content is delivered. The organization is measuring the connection between an increase in productivity and the training you've recently conducted. What type of evaluation is the company implementing? A. Reaction. B. Results. C. Performance. D. Return on investment. The answer is B. The fourth level of the Kirkpatrick model is results. The results level is dedicated to measuring direct business results of the training. It measures the learning against an organization's business outcomes, such as higher return on investments, less workplace accidents, and larger quantity of sales. What is one of the most critical tasks in preparing the HR budget? A. Ensure the financials depict the effectiveness of the HR function. B. Utilize a zero-based budgeting to ensure all expenses are justified. C. Ensure a linkage with the strategic plan. D. Secure senior management approval of expenses. The answer is C. The HR function must ensure the HR budget is linked with the organization's overall strategic plan. The HR function must ensure it aligns all its operations, initiatives, and activities with the corporate strategy. The Full Earth organization inaccurately withheld deductions from the paychecks of 17 exempt employees in the legal department. Under the safe harbor provision of the Fair Labor Standards Act, what must the Full Earth organization do so as not to lose the exemption status of the employees? A. Correct the inaccurate deductions moving forward, as inadvertent improper deductions will not result in loss of the exemption status. B. Reimburse the exempt employees for the erroneous deductions with treble damages. C. Report the incident to the Wage and Hour Division, and obtain a customized HR software to prevent future erroneous pay deductions. D. Make a good faith commitment to comply in the future. The answer is D. A safe harbor provision prevents an employer from losing the overtime exemption for improper pay deductions if an employer 1. Has a clearly communicated policy prohibiting improper deductions and including a complaint mechanism. 2. Reimburses employees for any improper deductions, and 3. Makes a good faith commitment to comply in the future. The employer will not lose the exemption for any employees, unless the employer willfully violates the policy, by continuing the improper deductions, after receiving employee complaints. Isolated or inadvertent improper deductions will not result in loss of the exemption, if the employer reimburses the employee for the improper deductions. Note that the employer must reimburse the improper deduction, the employer is not required to pay treble damages. Reporting to the WHD or obtaining a RIS does not satisfy the safe harbor provision requirements. What organization is most likely to be unsuccessful in carrying out its strategic plan and management across the organization? A. The organization invests in environmental scanning and benchmarking to determine critical internal and external factors before defining its strategy. B. To protect strategic competitiveness, strategic plans are shared among the C-suite executive management only. C. The strategic planning team obtains contribution from all functions and multiple stakeholders. D. Departmental and business unit goals, objectives, and action plans are determined after the overall organization strategy is defined and cascaded. The answer is B. It is an ineffective strategic planning and management practice to cover up the strategic plan and to share the details with only the senior executive management team. All internal and external stakeholders should contribute to the strategic planning process. It is important that employees also understand the line of sight between their work and the organizational strategy. Line of sight means that employees can see the connection between their work and the organization's goals.
Become a human resource prep member. Membership perks: unlimited PHR, SPHR, SHRM-CP, SHRM-SCP questions, answers, and explanations. In-depth explanations of key terms and concepts for the SHRM-CP, SHRM-SCP, PHR, SPHR exams. Instructional videos on exam resources for the SHRM-CP, SHRM-SCP, PHR, SPHR exams.
Which one of the following statements best describes the behavior evaluation? A. Smile sheets. B. Increased efficiency. C. Application of learning. D. Decrease in the number of errors. The answer is C. The behavior level of the Kirkpatrick evaluation model measures the degree to which participants' behaviors change as a result of the training, and whether the knowledge and skills from the training are then applied on the job. The Kirkpatrick model reaction measures your participants' initial reaction to gain an understanding of the training program, and valuable insights into material quality, educator, and more. Learning measure how much information was effectively absorbed during the training, and map it to the program or individual learning objectives. Behavior measure how much your training has influenced the behavior of the participants, and evaluate how they apply this information on the job. Results measure and analyze the impact your training has had at the business level, and be sure to tie it to the individual program. Dash is an important element of the Fair Labor Standards Act. A. Guaranteed employment. B. A private pension plan. C. The disability benefit. D. The record-keeping requirement. The answer is D. Every employer covered by the Fair Labor Standards Act must keep certain records for each covered, non-exempt worker. The records are to be preserved for at least 3 years. Which of the following statements is true of an employer, in case an employee is on family medical leave? A. The employer should ensure that the employee is supposed to be disadvantaged by the fact that the leave was taken. B. The employer should refrain from awarding bonus to employees for perfect attendance, who were granted leaves under the Family and Medical Leave Act. C. The employer is entitled to review the actual medical records of the employee. D. The employer may request a medical certification that a qualifying event has occurred in the employee's life. The answer is D. The employer may require the employee to submit a certification from a healthcare provider to support the employee's need for FMLA leave, to care for a covered family member with a serious health condition, or for the employee's own serious health condition. The employee is responsible for providing a complete and sufficient certification, generally within 15 calendar days after the employer's request. Which of the following statements is true of the Uniformed Services Employment and Reemployment Rights Act, USERRA? A. It applies to all individuals released from service, irrespective of whether it was under honorable conditions or dishonorable conditions. B. The USERRA also contains health insurance provisions. C. Employers may retaliate against anyone assisting in the enforcement of USERRA rights, provided that person has no service connection. D. Covered individuals who leave a job to perform military service are barred from continuing any existing employer-based health plan coverage. The answer is B. Per USERRA, if the employee has coverage under a health plan, in connection with his or her employment, the plan must permit the employee to elect to continue the coverage for a certain period of time.
Have you subscribed to this channel? Please do. Would you like to see more videos like this for free? Then please subscribe and click on the like button.
Willow Incorporated's maritime workers are unionized. The maritime workers want increased wages. When Willow refuses to bargain on wages, they vote to strike. This strike has the potential to paralyze the entire maritime industry. Which of the following statements is true under the Taft-Hartley Act? A. The maritime workers have violated the Taft-Hartley Act by striking for an increase in wages. B. The maritime workers would be held guilty of triggering a state of national emergency. C. A cooling off period would not be applicable in this situation. D. An 80-day cooling off period may apply in this situation. The answer is D. Per the Taft-Hartley Act or the LMRA, the President can issue an 80-day cooling off period, and seek an injunction in any industry, if a federal court determines the strike is a national emergency, that imperils the national health and safety. Frau received health insurance through her employer. 1 year later she was diagnosed with cancer and underwent treatment. The insurance company believed it would be too expensive to insure her, and rescinded her coverage. She may bring a claim against the insurance company because of the provisions of the A. Fair Labor Standards Act, FLSA. B. Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act, HIPAA. C. Uniformed Services Employment and Reemployment Rights Act, USERRA. D. Family Medical Leave Act, FMLA. The answer is B. Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act, HIPAA. Prohibits discrimination based on health status in certain circumstances. Protects medical privacy by limiting certain people from disclosing information. Sets limits on who can have access to a person's health information in all forms. Prevents anyone from receiving a person's health information, without his or her consent, and ensures that what is shared, are only the relevant details. Which of the following acts is directed at protecting employees' health care? A. The Employment Retirement Income Security Act, ERISA. B. The Fair Labor Standards Act, FLSA. C. The Consolidated Omnibus Budget Reconciliation Act, COBRA. D. The Worker Adjustment and Retraining Notification Act. The answer is C. The Consolidated Omnibus Budget Reconciliation Act, COBRA, gives workers and their families who lose their health benefits, the right to choose to continue group health benefits, provided by their group health plan, for limited periods of time, under certain circumstances, such as voluntary or involuntary job loss, reduction in the hours worked, transition between jobs, death, divorce, and other life events. Qualified individuals may be required to pay the entire premium for coverage, up to 102% of the cost to the plan. COBRA generally requires that group health plans, sponsored by employers with 20 or more employees, in the prior year offer employees, and their families, the opportunity for a temporary extension of health coverage, called continuation coverage, in certain instances, where coverage under the plan would otherwise end. A polygraph test may be legally used? A. When all public employers are screening job applicants. B. By public security companies to test both job applicants and current employees. C. When senior employees are being transferred to a different department within a firm. D. By most private employers, to check current employees because of a specific incident that caused economic injury to the employer's business. The answer is D. Subject to restrictions, the Employee Polygraph Protection Act, EPPA, permits polygraph testing of certain employees of private firms, who are reasonably suspected of involvement in a workplace incident, theft, embezzlement, etc., that resulted in specific economic loss or injury to the employer. Under the Employee Polygraph Protection Act, A. Current employees may not be tested randomly, but may be tested as a result of a specific activity that causes an economic loss to the employer. B. Current employees are refrained from being tested, even in cases involving distinct incidents that cause loss to an employer's business. C. Private security companies are prevented from using lie detector tests while screening job applicants. D. Private employers are permitted to use lie detector tests while screening job applicants. The answer is A. Current employees may not be tested randomly, but, subject to restrictions, employees may be tested as a result of a specific activity that causes an economic loss to the employer.
And with that we come to the end of today's lesson. Check out the description box below for additional resources towards earning the PHR, SPHR, SHRM-CP, and SHRM-SCP. Facebook Practice Group. Class Marker PHR, SPHR, Practice Exams. Books on Amazon. Teachable PHR, SPHR online course. Remember to subscribe and like this video.